There are also concerns for the faithful in Europe, where persecution and intolerance against Christians is becoming more common. EWTN Vatican Bureau Chief Andres Tannhauser recently spoke with the head of the organization that tracks discrimination against Christians in Europe.
Martin, you are working especially on the situation of Christians, of discrimination against religion, but also on hate crimes. What is the situation like in Europe right now?
Europe has unfortunately become a place, a dangerous place for many Christians who are engaged in public life on the one side. So this means that, for instance, freedom of conscience or freedom of speech is limited or at least threatened by laws and by the media bias in Europe. And then we have really anti-Christian hate crimes, which you find especially in France, Germany and Spain, when you see on the in the area of vandalism against churches. So these are two main areas where Christians are affected in public space, but we have also more subtle threats against religious freedom in general, but especially freedom of Christians. For instance, if you think about so-called buffer zones in front of abortion places, like where it's forbidden to pray or even to be there, maybe to talk to people. This is a growing issue in many countries, and we have educational rights who are affecting the freedom of parents to educate their children regarding sexual education, gender education, for instance. And then there's a growing phenomenon among Christian converts from Islam, especially in the immigrants communities, where it is dangerous if you live as a Christian Arab, for instance, in a community which is dominated by Muslims.
Also here in Europe, well, we know that religious festivities also provoke kind of violence against religion. What about Easter?
Easter is, of course, more dangerous in countries like Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Egypt, where there were many attacks and even many people killed in the recent history. Like 4 years ago, in Easter Sunday alone in Sri Lanka, 250 people were killed in the cathedral and 2 other churches. And the Western media stayed very calm on that and tried not to make an issue, and they just said, yeah, this bombs against traveling, praying people, which is not really the adequate description of this, because it was a Islamistic attack against Christians in a church. And we have other phenomena which, but in Europe, I think Eastern is not a dangerous issue. It's just the reaction against persecution against Christians in the world, which is so disappointing in Europe.
You have come here to Rome. You are the president of the think tank, also going against the hate crimes and discrimination of Christians. What could the Vatican do?
The Vatican has a good, important role in diplomacy, in the United Nations, in the European institutions. Of course, not as a decision maker, but I think the diplomats from the Holy See, like in the nunciatures, could use their influence, because in many countries the church has a standing, and of course what the Holy See should do is to encourage the bishops to use their local authorities to talk to politicians and journalists openly.
Martin, thank you so much for your work and for everything you do, and all the best also in the future.
Thank you so much.